يا محمد يا نبي الله يا محمد يا حبيب الله يا محمد يا شفيع الله يا محمد يا رسول الله يا رسول الله يا رسول الله يا رسول الله.
Good afternoon. My name is Lora Zahra MacDonald, and I was invited here to talk about how to be a Muslim woman. Well, when I first heard that title, I panicked, and as a researcher, I started interrogating everyone I knew around me. What should I say? How am I going to articulate this and honour all the people? And then I started thinking billions of people now, in the present, in the future, and in the past. And there's no way I could ever articulate the experiences and the light and the lives of so many people, or to give some sort of rule book. So I thought I would tell a story, and I'd tell my story. So, as I always say, we can only speak for ourselves, but perhaps we can find the connections between us. So, as a teenager, I used to fall in love a lot. I used to fall in love with people, places, ideas, and of course this was always of concern to my mother in particular. And I even, in fact, met the young man who is now my dear husband. But the last time I fell in love, it was profound, it was deep, it was spiritual, and I was obsessed and head over heels, just those kind of love that people talk about. But what I had fallen in love with was Islam. So the kind of thing that really frightened my mother. And I said the words, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Literally, there is only one God, God is God, and that Muhammad is his last messenger. And at that moment, I became a Muslim. I had said those words, I had believed that concept, and I understood. And that's what I thought. It's easy, I'm a Muslim, this is fine. And I am female, that makes me a Muslim woman. But then, that's when things started, and the voice of judgment and the voices of expectation came down upon me, and people started telling me about who I should be and who they thought I was. So suddenly the voices of judgment started telling me that I was oppressed, because of course all Muslim women are oppressed. Or, for example, I deluded. I had come under some sort of false consciousness. I had started to submit not to God but to men, and I had voluntarily turned Turk, become Muslim, the things that people perhaps fear most. I was also considered to be suddenly dowdy. Why would a woman want to cover her beautiful body? Why would a young woman wish to wear a scarf or behave in certain ways when she's free to do other things as she sees fit? So this was almost like a mark against my own womanhood or femininity. And lastly, I was a disgrace. From some people's perceptions, I had given up my own culture. I had given up my nation, my sense of self. I was a traitor. And those were very difficult things to deal with, and something that I just wasn't expecting. But there were other voices as well, voices that perhaps were intending to be more positive, but were really voices of expectation. So suddenly I was told that, oh, you're perfect, you're pious, you're reborn and you're renewed. And I was thinking to myself, well, actually, I just feel like me. So I ended up thinking about almost living in a split way. I'd chosen the name Zahra after the daughter of the Prophet, Muhammad. And sometimes I would refer to myself as Zahra. I'd wear particular clothes that I felt expressed my religious belief and my identity. And I would live in that way. At university, it was easy. I was in a different community with different people. And when I'd go back to my own home, I would be back to Lora. I'd look different, I'd feel different, and people would again treat me different ways. So for a while, I was none of the things people telling me. What I was is split and unsure and confused and actually quite torn about who I was. So I lived this for some time. It was almost like the ideas of other people were recipes for dishes I didn't recognize, I didn't want to be, and I actually couldn't be. And eventually it became a point of enough. I had to make my own journey, my own exploration, and if you like, resist what people were telling me. So I looked around and I looked to the past first of all, and I saw so many ways to be a Muslim woman, so many role models that people weren't really talking about. Those voices at me were not describing. So in the past, there were people such as Khadija bint Khuwaylid, who was the love of the life of the Prophet, and the first person who converted to Islam after his experience of prophethood. And she was a strong businesswoman. She was a leader. She proposed to him. She was older than him. So someone very strong, and again, someone that was resisting the stereotypes that people were telling me I was. Then there were other figures who, again, resisted that idea of oppressed, meek women. There was Mara, who was known as the shield of the Prophet on the battlefield. She when they were being persecuted, she would be out there, she would be protecting, and she would be fighting alongside him. And she rescued her son on occasion as well. Then spiritual leaders, Fatima, Zainab bin Ali, who even when they were in situations of great oppression, chose leadership to their whole community and were respected in that way and looked upon. And then perhaps a more contemporary or through the ages, Queen Awara of Yemen, Queen Amina of Zaria, which is now in present-day Nigeria, who was such a just ruler. She spread education amongst her people in a way that was very clever. She would go and she would take education to the women of each village. And even to this day, people have particularly the sacred texts memorized. They pass them orally down the generations. So she brought education to her people and was remembered for that. So the past was full of these inspiring women who were resisting these stereotypes, these assumptions and opinions of other people. And I began to think, well, yes, this is something I can identify with, away from those more fearful tropes. And I looked to the present, which seems obviously easy, but when you're in that position, you forget to see the people among you, the ordinary and amazing, whether that's the activists and artists and scholars and leaders and teachers and lawyers and businesswomen and farmers, all of those people out there, even my dear friends, my family, and my sisters in Islam and my sisters in humanity. We're all diverse and unique and beyond the boxes and borders that people were trying to put me in and put other people into. And of course, then I began to look at myself. Perhaps I saw myself in different and new ways, as well as being, someone interested in my studies. I was a daughter, a sister, a friend. I'm now a mother. And I'm a curious traveller. I'm a human being. I'm someone that wants to engage and be a part of humanity in our society. And I do worship God. I follow Muhammad, and Islam is my way. And this is my spiritual path, my social plane, and my communal experience. And the most simple thing came to me. I am a Muslim woman, and I am me. So thank you very much. I hope that was helpful. Thank you.